Next is
It's one of those nights.
Delegate Lopez.
Hey. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to offer an amendment in nature of substitute. I believe the clerk has
I
it.
have a motion to accept the substitute.
I just got done reading the other thing. Mr. Chair, can I just ask him before we adopt the substitute, is this all different?
No.
Okay.
No, it addresses two specific issues.
All this does anyway is allow him to present it.
Yeah, so moved.
We won't vote on it back.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those say aye.
Aye.
Motion is properly, the bill is properly before us. Substitute. Delegate Lopez.
Specifically, what the two changes are to the bill was, originally the bill said 10 rounds. I made it conform with the current definition of a high-capacity magazine in Virginia, which is 20 rounds. And then I also got rid of a reference to a Class 5 felony, which I just made that a $250 fine. Specifically, what we're doing here is that anybody who manufactures, sells, purchases large, what I refer to as military-style high-capacity ammunition magazines, will be subject to a $1,000 fine. The bill also provides for exceptions to the prohibition in that individuals can register up to 3 of these high-capacity magazines with the state police and proper authorities. And then also, as a part of that registration process, however, the willful, basically the willful or intentionally failing to say what or how many high-capacity magazine rounds you have, that's the change to $250. The bill also provides that a registrant is limited to, like I said, to 3 high-capacity magazines. I've wrestled with this for a while. I come from a family of hunters. My family in central Pennsylvania, my mom's side. My uncle he's been on national TV shows. He's the president of the 41,000 member Pennsylvania Turkey Calling Association. And the thing is that these high-capacity magazines have one purpose and one purpose only: to kill humans. And you don't really need a 100-round magazine to kill a deer. Just over the last 13 months, we've had 4 tragic shootings, and in each of these cases, we're dealing with high-capacity magazine rounds. January 18th in Tucson, Arizona, 6 people were killed and 13 wounded with a regular handgun and a 33-round magazine. July 20th, 2012 in Aurora, Colorado, 12 were killed and 58 wounded with a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 assault rifle and 100-round ammunition magazines. August 5th, 2012 in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, 6 were killed and 4 wounded with a regular handgun and a 19-round ammunition magazine. Most recently, in December 14th in Newtown, Connecticut, 26 people were killed, 20 children, and 2 wounded with a Bushmaster AR-15 assault rifle, 2 handguns, and multiple 33-round magazines. Now, these are not your grandfather's hunting rifles. We're talking about high-capacity magazines, which are used specifically for rapid spray firing for the killing of humans. They're responsible for far too high percentage of law enforcement deaths across the country. Moreover, in 2011, a study analyzed data kept by the Virginia State Police that found a clear decline in the percentage of crimes that were equipped with large capacity ammunition magazines after the federal ban was enacted. The percentage reached a low of 10% of crimes with high capacity magazines in 2004. Then it steadily climbed after Congress allowed the ban to expire. And by 2010, the percentage was close to 22%. And with that in mind, and with these statistics in mind, this is why I felt it was important for me to put forward this legislation. And I also think that the measure has broad public support. A CNN poll in December of 2012 found that 62% of Americans feel like high-capacity ammunition magazines are unnecessary. I think this is a common-sense public safety measure, and I think that The fact is, when you see Field and Stream magazine, and people are saying 67% of the readers of Field and Stream magazine are saying that, you know, semi-automatic weapons with high-capacity magazines are not necessary, or they're not necessary for hunting. I think we should at least be open to discussing the issue. Oh, and let me just also offer something else. 2008 Supreme Court case, Heller versus District of Columbia. 5-4 decision basically overturned the DC handgun ban, as it also related to high-capacity magazines. Anthony Scalia, not a noted liberal, wrote in the opinion that it's still, you can ban, or not ban, but regulate what are deemed as unusual and dangerous weapons. Military-style weaponry. And he gave an example as the M16. Well, everybody in this room knows that after, with the modifications on what the old George H.W. Bush era federal legislation had regarding the assault weapons ban, what was done with the Bill Clinton era with the assault weapons ban, you had 2 military-style features on those guns. It's very easy to, I think the term is sporterization of these essentially military-style assault weapons and semi-automatic weapons to make them sport guns. The M16 exists as a sport gun in the United States. It's simply not called the M16.
I have a question.
Are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Definitely
Definitely
finished. Delegate Gill.
I have a, as probably millions of people do, I own a Ruger 1022, which is a 22 caliber semi-automatic rifle. And I have several 30-round magazines for my 1022, which is used, again, by millions of people for something called plinking, where they go out and shoot tin cans. And
Right.
Is that included in your bill? Since you've been talking about military-style assault weapons?
30, I'm just talking about, you can still own up to 3 high-capacity ammunition rounds.
Oh, so
This is specifically focusing on the ammunition rounds. I'm all for, I'm not trying to address semi-automatic weapons. I'm not talking about the guns. I'm not going down the Joe Morrissey path here. I'm simply talking about the high-capacity magazines.
So the answer is you will graciously allow me up to 3 such magazines for my non-military style rifle that is not used by any military in the world.
Under the legislation, yes.
All right. Okay.
Anyone like to speak in favor of this bill?
Mr. Chairman, I have Virginia Center Public Safety report.
Lori Haas, Virginians for Responsible Gun Laws, we support the bill. I've been saying it over and over again. The killer at Virginia Tech had a high-capacity magazine, several of them on his person. He was able to get those after the magazine limits were expired along with the assault weapon ban in 2004. I understand that there is some sport involved with some people with these things, but the reality is they are the ammunition of choice in these mass shootings.
Anyone else in favor? Anyone in opposition?
Yes, sir. Mike McHugh, Virginia Gun Owners Coalition, also a graduate of Virginia Tech, family out in Aurora, office in Columbine. I have 3 simple points. This ain't about hunting, it's about protecting little kids. Number 2, I appreciate you wanting to do something to protect kids, sir, but the fact is, look at the LA riots, the guys with AR-15s on the roofs were the only ones whose stores weren't trashed. Final point. And this is the most difficult one because the fact is, sir, it wasn't a Bushmaster. I'm sorry, it wasn't a Bushmaster. AR-15. We've got police video they've taken out of the car. Would look like initially something, but there was nothing in the school. It was a high-cap rifle. They took it out of the car, and I'll show you the video. They pulled it out, and it actually happened to be a shotgun. What he did when Lance went in there and killed those little kids, he did it with a New York reload. He had handguns, 10-round You want to take out people close range, you do it with handguns. You drop it, you go with your next guns, you pop in 10-round mags. I appreciate the desire to do something to protect little kids, but that has nothing to do with protecting little kids. It has everything to do with running a political agenda that persecutes law-abiding gun owners. I've got several high-round mags, and they wouldn't be your weapon of choice at close range because they jam and they're easy to take away from you.
Okay, next.
Chuck Cunningham with the National Rifle Association. We're opposed to this legislation. We know from experience that violent and insane criminals don't obey gun control laws. In fact, that was the essence of the Connecticut tragedy. It's by the Brady Bunch's own National Survey of State Gun Control Laws. They consider Connecticut to be the 5th best, from their perspective, best, most restrictive state in the country as far as gun laws, and they already banned pseudo-assault weapons. I say pseudo-assault weapons because semi-automatics are incapable of spray firing, as you use the term. They fire one bullet with each trigger pull, just like a pump action, just like a lever action, just like a bolt action. They are not fully automatic firearms, and they're incapable of spray fire. So what we do know is that criminals will not obey the laws, and this will only impact law-abiding citizens, and for that reason and many others, we oppose this legislation.
Again, let me just remind the speakers to make the comments directly to us. And the people will have his opportunity to make his comments.
Chairman Philip Van Cleve, President of VCDL. A couple things. One, these magazines are exactly what the Second Amendment covers. In the case of multiple assailants, I would definitely want to have my gun with a magazine like this. Also, it was mentioned by Delegate Lopez that he's got multiple rifles. Well, this sounds like you get 3 of these high-capacity magazines, period. So if you've got 10 rifles that would use them, you can only have 3 that you somehow have to share across rifles that may not even use the same magazine.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dennis O'Connor, Prince George County. I'd just like to point out that the verbiage used of high capacity is really incorrect. We're talking about standard capacity magazines, the ones that are meant to be created, sold, and fitted into these firearms that they're made for. What we're talking about swapping into is something that are reduced capacity magazines, like New York and other states are calling for. And whether or not it's applicable to hunting at all has no bearing on anything. I'd strongly recommend killing this bill. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Zach Lautenschlager, National Association for Gun Rights. We do oppose the bill.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Speaker, I have 3 sons, and they cannot, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. I know the owl can delay.
That's great.
I'm all for it.
There we go.
I have 3 sons. If each one of them has, and they're below the age of 18, if each one of them has a rifle, then I would be left without being able to even have a clip for my rifle. Is that right?
No, it's each individual.
But they're under the age of 18.
I think in section, what is it? Section 1, Part F. We leave it up to the Department of State Police to come up with their own proper way of setting up a registration process.
Anyone else on the committee have a question or comments?
If I might,
Delegate Weber.
there have been some pretty good points that I would concur with, and I do thank Delegate Lopez for engaging in the process and the conversation, and not doing what some have done and keeping it to a serious tone, and I appreciate that very much. However, I concur with some of the folks in the audience in regards to our Second Amendment rights, as well as transferring some of these high-capacity magazines, as if they're anything like some of the guns that I've received through my family, they end up becoming heirlooms after a while. And I just, there are many people who own more than 3, and at some point we are going to confiscate people's property, and I can't support that.
Thank you. Delegate Lopez, I'll give you the last word.
I appreciate that, sir. With regard to the comment about, which I think is, I think it's wrong to say that semi-automatic weapons are not about spraying. Actually, in the same Heller decision in 2008, a test was done, and it was found, it was actually cited in the court's case facts, that the 30-round magazine could be emptied in a fully automatic mode in slightly less than 2 seconds, while the same magazine could be emptied in a semi-automatic mode in 5 seconds. The court upheld the ban on semi-automatic assault weapons, stating that it is difficult to draw meaningful distinctions between the AR-15 and a semi-automatic assault weapon and the M16, a fully automatic machine gun. That was language cited by Anthony Scalia. I would also mention that the NRA in the 1960s was actually drafting legislation to regulate guns and put gun control out. And the biggest proponent of that in California was another noted liberal, Ronald Reagan. Governor Ronald Reagan was the one who put forward these efforts and championed these efforts to address gun regulation. And so I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican issue. I don't think this is an issue of we're going to take away, if you take away our Second Amendment rights, then we're going to become a North Korea-style dictatorship. I think that's an absurd argument that has been raised by folks, and actually, I think fairly effectively countered by constitutional law experts at Harvard Law School. I think what we need to do is truly look at these high-capacity magazines and realize that they're not necessary for hunting rights. And if, like I said, if the readers of Field and Stream think that, almost 2 to 1, I would hope that we would as well.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Gill.
Lenin had a term for those in the West who unwittingly advanced the cause of totalitarianism with their rhetoric. He called them useful idiots. And I have a motion, if I can be ready.
I recognize you for a motion.
I move to PBI.
Have a second. The motion's been made and seconded that we PBI the bill. We've heard a lot of discussion. And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion carries. The bill is PBI.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir. The next bill is Delegate Cosgrove, HB 2240.